It's been nearly 1 week since President Trump signed an executive order calling for the end of federal diversity, equity and inclusion programs and placing DEI-supporting employees on paid leave. Now, those programs were initially put in place to combat inequality and underrepresentation faced by some minority groups in the U.S. Already, DEI information has been removed from federal websites, including the Office of Personnel Management, the State Department, and Department of Homeland Security. Here with me now to discuss this is Congressman Suhas Subramanyam of Virginia. Great to have you with us, and I know that your district represents much of the federal workforce and many contractors in Northern Virginia. I'm just wondering, what does the removal of these roles mean for everyone in the way that government functions?
I'll say two things. One, these DEI programs, there's this conception that it is meant to disadvantage white people and hire people who are unqualified and of color. And that's simply not true. What these programs end up doing is actually making the workforce better with more different expertise and backgrounds. And so it's better. It's worked in the private sector, and the public sector was starting to adopt it to keep up and have a great federal workforce. Second thing is that I had, one person tell me at their agency that they had the word diversity in a PowerPoint for their program 2 years ago. And because of that, the word diversity being in a PowerPoint, they're looking at chopping the program now. And when they asked why, they said, well, anything that says diversity in it, we want to get rid of. And that seems more like a dog whistle for some ugly things rather than just trying to make sure that there's fairness in hiring.
And, this morning, there's a lot of folks who are qualified and work in these areas who likely still have a bit of whiplash from the past week of being dismissed from their roles. And I know that, considering your district, it's so closely aligned with what happens in D.C., how this impacts your constituents.
Yeah, we have tens of thousands of federal workers and even more contractors. And one of the things I'm hearing is a lot of fear and a lot of people feeling like, they took this job, took less money to be in the public sector and serve their country, whether it's in the military or at an agency, and now they're being vilified. And it's going to have dire consequences for our functioning of government. So I think all American people should be just as scared, because if the idea is to fire a bunch of very highly qualified, experienced federal workers and replace them with Trump loyalists, we're going to have a very dysfunctional government, even more dysfunctional than people think it is already.
But let's back up and look at the other side of this, because the president also fired a number of inspectors general. So when you combine that with the effort to eliminate DEI programs, he did campaign on this. He did clearly say this is what he wanted to do, and he won the last general election. So in some ways, isn't Trump doing exactly what voters put him in office to accomplish?
Not at all. He said he was going to get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse in government, yet the first people he fires are the people who have expertise in getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse in government. What he wants to do is put his own people in place so that he can define what waste, fraud, and abuse means. I think what will end up happening is government contracts will end up being canceled. You're going to see a lot of cronyism, a lot of contracts going to people who are connected to Trump. I think that he also feels like government workers and federal workers didn't enact his agenda word for word when he was president last time. So this is revenge as well. So this is all in line with what the president has done before. That's not why people elected him.
And you mentioned, president is at this for the second time. Democrats certainly knew this was coming. Do you feel that politically Democrats were prepared for the response to what some describe as mass action taken by Trump very quickly? And if so, what are Democrats doing to resist this?
Over and over again last year during the campaign, we talked about Project 2025. I talked about it all the time. A lot of voters didn't believe it. They didn't believe that Trump would go this far. They didn't believe that Trump would do these things. Now he's doing it. And now we know that Project 2025 was, in fact, his agenda, and he's implementing it as we speak. And so, I think maybe on the Democratic side, long term, we have to look at how we can message better and make sure voters believe what Trump says. But certainly this is, he won because costs were high, and he won for a lot of other reasons, but he didn't win to gut government and put his cronies in place and make it less efficient and less accountable.
Yeah, you certainly have your work cut out for you. I know you're always up early, but Congressman Subramanyam, we appreciate you getting up with us today. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.